Try this.
Here we go. Ready? Orange fountain. Why are you talking that long? That's a good one.
Hi, Arlene. How are you? I'm originally from North Carolina, but I study here at Trinity.
Great.
You don't need to. Big guy.
How about Florida? All I feel bad because, like, I'm short, but I don't have step funny. As long as they're short.
Excuse me.
I know you said
That's too funny. He said, this is English speaks.
Oh, yeah, right.
Not to get on the red, right? Like, you can't read a room.
They try.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Unrealistic. Should we go to the chat? Oh, I hear her the clicking. I hear her clicking. This might not be. So what's this chair? Should we start it again? Should we start it again while we're like waiting? I think we should. Now? Who's the leader? Who's the leader of the pack? They're coming in. What? They're coming in. They're so Oh, I guess. No, maybe not. Oh, no, they're not. No, they're not. They're
Sin papeles.
Sin miedo.
Sin papeles.
Sin miedo.
Sin papeles.
Sin miedo.
Sin papeles.
Sin miedo.
No papers.
No fear.
No papers.
No fear.
No papers.
No fear.
No papers.
No fear.
Sin papeles.
Sin miedo.
Sin papeles.
Sin miedo.
You always get to be on so little that when they come, usually it's so tall. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Don't stand in front of me. Stand in front of me.
Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are. So we tell them we are the immigrants, the mighty, mighty immigrants, fighting for justice, and the dream of homicide.
As I hear that enthusiasm coming in, as we come into this room, I think President Ronald Reagan would love to hear that. As I said during the campaign, the president I quoted most was President Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, in his last speech, to the American people as President of the United States, talk about the Statue of Liberty and what it means to the world, that beacon of hope, and what it means to people in our country who came that way and others who look to our country, whatever the port of entry, but as that is our symbol. And he did say, after talking about the Statue of Liberty, President Reagan said, "The vital force of America's preeminence in the world is every new generation of immigrants who come to our country. And when we fail to recognize that, America will fail to be preeminent in the world." President Ronald Reagan, the constant reinvigoration of America newcomers. Democrats are proud to stand today with DREAMers, temporary protected status folks, and deferred enforced departure holders as we take on historic step to protect patriotic men and women who, in being here, in the wisdom of Ronald Reagan, make America more American. Every day since the president cruelly ended DACA and gutted TPS and DED, courageous Americans like Jessica and Heather, whom we will hear from, have spoken out with great dignity and great eloquence, and they have made a difference. Let us also salute Congresswoman Lucille Roybal-Allard for her work with DREAMers, the godmother of the DREAM Act. Congresswoman Nydia Velazquez is chair of the Hispanic Caucus when we passed the DREAM Act, when we were in the majority before. Know that we will be joined by Mr. Ticano, Mark Ticano, where we go, of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, as well as Yvette Clark from the Congressional Black Caucus, the Tri-Caucus, sometimes I call them the Tricolor, the Tri-Caucus members who have taken the lead on recognizing the vitality of America in our newcomers. I also want to acknowledge Dean Phillips, a new member from Minnesota, see here, who's been a leader on the DED issue as well. So, again, as we salute our colleagues for their leadership, let's recognize that in the election, the American people elected a new Democratic House majority that would advance progress for all Americans and uphold our values of liberty, justice, and opportunity. Today, we're honoring that trust with the Dream and Promise Act, which ensures that DREAMers and TPS and DED Americans continue to bless and enrich our nation. We are pleased that this legislation opens a door of opportunity for temporary protective status and DED recipients who are American in every way, raising families, starting businesses, and contributing to our community over the decades. Once we pass this bill, we will fight for a comprehensive fix for our broken immigration system that embraces the contribution of all of our newcomers. There should be nothing partisan or political in this legislation. Protecting DREAMers and TPS and DED Americans is about honoring and respecting the family that is the heart of our faith and the heart of who we are as Americans. We look forward to strong bipartisan vote to pass this legislation and safeguard every child and family's right to pursue their American dream. Thus, I'm going to yield to Congresswoman Roybal-Allard, our chair on the Appropriations Subcommittee on Homeland Security. She wears many hats in this fight. And doing so, though, I want to also acknowledge the incredible leadership of Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren of California, the chair of the Immigration Subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee. With that, I'm pleased to yield to Lucille Roybal-Allard.
Okay, good morning to everyone and welcome. You know, as the co-author of the original 2001 DREAM Act, I'm extremely pleased to introduce the new version, the Dream and Promise Act of 2019. Yes, we can.
Yes, we will.
H.R. 6, absolutely. H.R. 6 is an important bill that protects our nation's dreamers and individuals with temporary protective status and deferred enforced departure. And I thank my co-authors, Congresswoman Nydia Velazquez and Yvette Clark, for their work on the TPS and DED provisions of the bill, and for their fight to protect the rights of immigrant communities across our nation. I also thank Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren and Congressman Gerald Nadler for their critical support in drafting the bill, and Speaker Nancy Pelosi for designating the bill as H.R. 6, one of the top 10 priorities of the new Democratic majority. And thanks to the many experts, immigration advocacy groups, and DREAMers who provided us with their personal experiences and invaluable insight into the challenges faced by our DREAMers. And I am proud our bill contains a number of provisions that make it more progressive and pragmatic than previous versions of DREAM. In 2012, President Obama gave DREAMers hope that they would be able to stay and contribute to their communities and build their American dream. Sadly, in 2017, the Trump administration cruelly and recklessly ended DACA, dashing their hopes and instilling fear and uncertainty in their lives and that of their families. Like so many others, I have seen the pain and fear the Trump decision has had on DREAMers and their families. My congressional district is home to the largest number of DREAMers of any district in the country, with an estimated 16,800 DACA or DACA-eligible individuals. Fortunately, California values the talents and the potential of our DREAMers. They are our neighbors and colleagues who help strengthen our communities. They are students, scientists, researchers, and small business owners who contribute to America's great history of innovation. That is why our state leads the way in supporting our DREAMers and benefiting from their contribution as a vital force in our state's vibrant, inclusive, and thriving economy, the 5th largest in the world. The DREAM and Promise Act of 2019 provides a pathway to citizenship for DREAMers who arrived in the U.S. at age 17 and younger and who have been continuously living here for the last 4 years. DREAMers must be employed, pursue higher education, or serve in our military to adjust to lawful permanent resident status. The bill provides a direct pathway to LPR status for current DACA recipients and individuals who already meet these requirements. Our bill helps DREAMers to access in-state tuition and gives them access to federal student financial aid. The bill also establishes a grant program for nonprofits, includes new due process provisions, and permits certain eligible DREAMers deported by the Trump administration to apply for relief. So once again, I thank Speaker Pelosi for making DREAMers and individuals with TPS and DED a top priority of our Democratic majority. And I look forward to working with my colleagues to pass H.R. 6, the DREAM and Promise Act of 2019. Thank you. And now it is my pleasure to introduce a DREAMer from my district who really is the face of the DREAMer movement. Someone who really is an example of why we are working so hard to ensure that our DREAMers can stay in this country and continue to contribute to our economy and to the quality of our life. Jessica Garcia.
Living in uncertainty has defined much of my last 16 years in the United States. But so has my dream to get a doctorate's degree in sociology and teach at a major university. My name is Jessica Garcia Garcia. I am a 21-year-old DACA recipient and a proud member of CHIRLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. I come from a very loving, hardworking household. My parents migrated from Oaxaca, Mexico. Both of my parents are undocumented. My mom is a housekeeper, and my dad is a cook. I have an older sister who is 25 years old and dreamer like me. But unlike me, my sister did not have an opportunity to apply for DACA as the program was non-existent when she attended California State University of Long Beach. I first confronted my greatest fear one evening when my parents and I were headed to downtown Los Angeles, excited about the new clothes my parents had bought my sister and I. This excitement soon turned to panic for this 10-year-old as the red lights flashed behind our car. My parents began going through the checklist. Seatbelts on? Check. Car registration? Check. Insurance? Check. Lights on? Check. Why had he stopped us? We had no idea, and as much as we replayed the last minutes of our drive, we could not recall doing anything wrong. Deep down, I feared something more than a ticket. I feared becoming separated from my family by an immigration enforcement officer because neither I or my family were protected by an immigration document. Thankfully, the incident ended well for us, but I can assure you that my heart skipped a bit that day, and I was reminded that fear would be an uninvited guest in my family for a long time to come. In 2012, something that would change my life happened. DACA was announced. I applied to the program in 2012, right after my 15th birthday. I was a 9th grader, full of dreams and aspirations. For the first time, I felt joy and relief, and I allowed myself to dream big, even though I recognized this was a temporary solution. With DACA, I had access to a social security number and the ability to work at a decent job. When the time came, I got my driver's license, and it felt amazing to hold that piece of paper on my hand, a card that had my name, and it didn't label me as a different person. With DACA, I felt a sense of belonging. And because I was working at a job within my career path, I was able to help my parents financially, build my credit, and have dreams of buying a home one day. In 2016, various forms of fear and anxiety engulfed my daily life as the presidential campaign focused negatively on immigration. As a senior in high school, every class inevitably discussed the candidates and their messages, particularly the hurtful and negative words of then-candidate Donald J. Trump. Unlike most of my peers, hearing this man describe my community in such negative ways left me feeling alone and uncertain about my future. When time came to apply for college, despite my concerns about the anti-immigrant rhetoric, I went forward and applied and was admitted to the University of California, Merced. As life would have it, I was not able to attend a four-year university right after high school, but I was not ready to give up then. That summer, I signed up to attend Pasadena City College with a promise to my parents that I would pursue my education to make them and this country proud. I'm on my way to making true one of my promise. In June, I will graduate with an associate's degree in sociology and have so far been accepted to attend California State University of San Jose and Sacramento. I am very thankful to be protected by DACA. This temporary protection has given me some relief, but I am keenly aware thousands upon thousands of young immigrants like myself, or those who did not qualify because they were a few years younger or older than me, did not even get to enjoy the little bit of freedom that I enjoyed with DACA. After President Trump canceled DACA in 2017, once again, I've lived with the uncertainty over my future and that of my family because of our immigration status. The desire to prove that I am somebody, that I am as American as our Star-Spangled Banner, but with a proud Oaxacan heritage. Yes. Keeps me moving forward and helps me stand here today, asking Congress to pass a permanent solution that will define permanently the lives of hundreds of thousands who, like me, contribute positively to this country. A historic event is taking place today here in Washington, D.C. I know so many people, like my sister and myself, who have waited decades to see a bill such as the DREAM Act passed and signed into law. I, for one, am extremely appreciative to the leaders moving forward this humane legislation and permanent solution to this limbo in which so many people live in. I really hope the Senate will hear and debate this bill objectively, and that President Trump signs it into law soon. My story, my roots, my efforts is in fact one of survival, and it's my experience as a young person of diverse background that makes me a strong, passionate, and determined U.S. citizen in waiting. Yes. Yes. I look forward to talking to legislators and as many people who want to hear about why this bill is not just about dreams, but about reality in a great, diverse, and strong country such as the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you, Charla. Angelica Salas is here. Thank you, Charla. Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez of New York, a heroine in this fight.
Thank you, Speaker Pelosi. Well, before I discuss the part of the legislation that I work on, I just want to say this is what America is all about. Jessica, you make our country a stronger country, and it's just unbelievable. We must honor the promise that we made to you. She is an American in every sense, but on paper. And today, is the day that we're going to start reversing that. Thank you, Speaker Pelosi. You have been a stalwart leader on this issue, and I know that with your leadership, we're going to finally tackle the pressing matter. Let me also thank my colleagues, Lucille Roybal-Allard and Yvette Clark. Thank you to all my colleagues who are here and the immigrants who are bravely making your voices heard. The issues that we are addressing today speak to who we are as a nation. What kind of nation do we want to be? Are we the America that has been defined by its immigrant heritage, that recognizes the entrepreneurial spirit and tireless work ethic immigrants bring to the table? Are we going to stand for the hardworking immigrants who come here fleeing natural disasters or civil wars? Or are we going to be a nation characterized by fear that turns inward and turns our back on those who come here to build a better life? Think about it. The Trump administration wants to send back immigrants who arrive in the US to escape earthquakes and political violence. These are single mothers with children, fleeing domestic abuse and violence. These are people who have planted deep roots in their communities. The average TPS beneficiary has been here 20 years. They are our neighbors, our friends, and coworkers. They contribute, by the way, $4.5 billion in wages and salary to our nation's GDP. We are not going to let Donald Trump send them back, putting their lives in peril or tearing families apart. And we are not going to ask them to live in a constant state of fear and uncertainty. That is what this bill is about, which is why I am so proud to join with Lucille in authoring it. Portions of this bill are based on my legislation from last Congress, the American Promise Act, which for the first time provide TPS and DED beneficiaries a path to citizenship. It is past due time to provide these communities with fairness and certainty about their future, and that is what this bill will do. With that, let me introduce our next speaker, a TPS beneficiary, Heber Chavez.
First of all, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm here because I have TPS, and I work. I live in here for 19 years old in this country, United States. So I don't speak English well, but I try to, So I work in United States for almost 20 years. I work in a hospital, Kaiser Permanente, a full-time job, and I have a part-time job too, at cooking. So we feel back in this moment because TPS is canceled in September. So we think about what happened after the TPS expired. So we have family. I have my children. So if we come back to my country, my son here want to come back with me. So that's what we're thinking about. It's not easy for everybody. We have TPS, and we have family here in my country too. So I don't speak too much, because I don't practice yesterday because I worked all night last night. So it's a surprise for me. So, but I feel good. So, you know, we fight together for permanent resident. So that's all. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. It's certainly my honor and my privilege to come. I'm Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke of the 9th District of New York, which is Brooklyn. Brooklyn has always been a gateway for families and immigrants across this nation, and I am proud to stand here as the daughter of 2 Jamaican immigrants who came to the United States in the 1950s. I am here to be also the face of Black immigration. And oftentimes we don't realize that immigration is not relegated to any one particular nationality. All of us, if we go deep enough into our roots, will find that immigrant that was brave enough to come to add value to the growth and development of our nation. That's why I'm so proud to stand with Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez and Roybal-Allard to introduce this legislation and be a co-lead on the DREAM and Promise Act. As has been stated, this bill includes a pathway to citizenship and builds upon the DREAM Act, the American Promise Act, and the bipartisan Aspire TPS Act, which I introduced last Congress. Today we unify, we stand in unity for DACA recipients, TPS recipients, DED recipients. Their stories are so compelling because, as already been stated, our families and our communities are all being impacted. Immigration, let me repeat it again, is a Black issue. Black immigrant families are mixed status families. So when you unravel, when you have someone who's a citizen, someone who is a resident, someone is also a TPS holder, or someone else is a DACA recipient, you are talking about separating families, and we as a Congress cannot abide with that. Donald Trump has been targeting our communities, and with racial profiling, so many families are caught up in his enforcement. So we must act quickly. The DED deadline for Liberia is March 31st of this year. That's just 19 days away. Liberia has a long history with the United States that continues to this very day. Liberians have been on TPS and DED for over 20 years. The case of their temporary status for 20 years is an illustration of the real impact of a failing immigration system on everyday people. And so what we do today, the introduction of H.R. 6, and I must thank our speaker, who has been a champion, who has carried this issue on her shoulders. We must come through. We must come through for the American people, and that's why it's critical that we introduce and pass this bill at this time. With that, Madam Speaker, I yield back.
Thank you, Congresswoman Clarke. Thank you, Speaker Pelosi, Congresswoman Roybal-Allard, Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez, and to all my colleagues who have been working on this legislation and have been ardent defenders of our immigrant communities during this administration and long before that. So I am Congressman Mark Takano, a state that is home to more than 223,000 DACA recipients. And I want to begin by telling all of the DREAMers and TPS recipients who are here and watching from all corners of the country, you are Americans, you are valued, and you are here to stay. So America is a promise of freedom, justice, and opportunity. And being an American is not defined by your immigration status, the color of your skin, or your country of origin. It is defined by a set of values we all share. DREAMers and TPS recipients are emblematic of what it means to be an American. They play by the rules, they contribute to society, they work hard, and yes, they even step up, they enlist, and put on the uniform of our country to serve our country. They do all this with the pride of knowing that they are working to achieve the American dream and fulfill the promise of America. But at the same time, they worry that one day they will be forced to leave their families and their home, and they do not deserve to be living in limbo and to be facing each day filled with uncertainty. The introduction of the Dream and Promise Act is a moral statement, a statement of the belief that those who have built their lives here, who are raising their families here, who are contributing to our communities, and who are fighting for our country, they deserve to stay here. Last Congress, the House did not have the moral and political courage to act on this important issue. Well, we are in charge now. And we are ready to protect those who have faced incessant attacks by this morally bankrupt and frankly un-American administration. And what is un-American are the attacks, the targeting, the lies, the distortions that are told about the people who have built and who build and who will be building our country. I am proud that our caucus has the moral clarity to protect and defend DREAMers and TPS and DED recipients. But we must also have the political courage to pass this legislation to make clear that immigrants are welcome here. So I echo and I amplify the chant, "Si se puede, sin miedo." And thank you. I would like to now introduce a great champion from California, my home state, Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren.
Thank you. It's really an honor to be here this morning, and I have tremendous gratitude to my colleagues Lucille, Roybal-Allard, Nydia Velasquez, and Yvette Clark for the hard work they've put into a really very fine piece of legislation. You know, last week the House Judiciary Committee had the privilege to hear testimony from various DREAMers and TPS and DED recipients. And what we learned, actually we might have known it before, was that these individuals who have been here so long, in the case of the DREAMers virtually their whole lives, feel fully American. Their loyalty is to the United States of America, but they lack a piece of paper. For the young people brought here, they didn't make a decision, but here they are, Americans in every way, but their piece of paper. So that's the equities for them, but let's think about the equities for the United States. What we learned hearing from the medical student, hearing from the PhD candidate, understanding the individuals who are working in the healthcare sector and throughout our economy, the idea that we would yank thousands of people who are contributing to our economy would be a very serious wrong for the United States of America. It would do us harm in addition to the individuals. So let's pass this legislation promptly. Let's save the United States from that harm. I'm glad that we are not only joined by the authors of this legislation, but the legislation has the complete support of our leadership, which is so important. Speaker Pelosi, and now the person I'm pleased to introduce, our Majority Leader, Steny Hoyer.
Thank you, Chair Lofgren, a critical leader on the issue of immigration in our country, one of the most knowledgeable folks in our country on immigration. Thank you, my dear friend Lucille Roybal-Allard, for introducing the DREAM Act, being so passionate and effective in getting it to where it is today. Nydia Velasquez, I think, has left, but thank you for putting in the legislation that will deal with the temporary protective status and DED. Gustavo is my good friend. How many of you are Casa de Maryland? Some personal pride there. Jessica, you are exceptional, but you're not the exception. I have talked to literally hundreds like Jessica who are making such a difference in our communities, in our states, in our countries right now. And you're one of those. But you are exceptional. And thank you very much for your commitment to America, for your commitment to making us a better country. Javier, thank you very much for your service last night. Were you in the hospital last night? Yeah. Taking care of patients.
Okay.
I went down with Senator Durbin to the White House about a year ago. Senator Durbin sat to the right of the president, I sat to the left of the president, and Senator Grassley asked him a question. Said, Mr. President, the DREAMers have not done anything wrong. The DREAMers have lived here almost all their lives. They know no other country. Mr. President, we need to make sure they can stay here. And Senator Feinstein, a Democrat, Senator Grassley, a Republican, asked the same question. And the president said, yes, we need to take care of that. And then we'll deal with comprehensive immigration reform, which we need to deal with. We need to fix a broken system. And as we left, the president said, you pass a bill and I will sign it. That's what the President of the United States said. He could have been saying it to all of you. Because I know when he meets exceptional people, he thinks that they ought to be here. We talk about America as a nation of immigrants. But guess what? America is America because those immigrants became citizens of America. And they helped build America. And they made America all that it could be. And they're continuing to do that. And very frankly, ladies and gentlemen, we need immigrants in America, as we always have, as we do today. Now, in 2012, President Obama signed legislation that said that we need the DREAMers, and we welcome those for TPS status fleeing natural disasters, civil wars, violence, whatever the reason came here. I have a person in my district that Gustavo brought to my office, been here 25 years. He has a business with 40 employees. 40 families who depend upon him for their livelihood. And President Obama passed an executive order because he cared about those people, about making sure that they were without fear, Jessica, so that when those lights and maybe your tail lights out and that policeman stops, that you're not seized with fear because you know that checklist, you haven't done anything wrong. President Obama cared. 86% of the American people believe this bill ought to pass. 86%. And so the test with this legislation is DACA. Does America care again about making sure that Jessica nor any other person lives in fear if they're doing right by America and not sent to a country they don't know and have not been in for all, sometimes, of their, or at least the overwhelming majority of their lives. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to pledge our efforts. I am here as Majority Leader to pledge that this bill is going to be on the floor. Si se puede, si se puede, si se puede, si se puede, si se puede. And yes, we can, but what did the speaker say? Yes, we will. So dreamers, keep dreaming, because America needs your dreams. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm actually from Maryland.
Oh, wonderful. Where are you from? Dreams and promises.